Okay, so last time we had a lot on like, is there a God and Jesus and Christianity, everything like that.
Oh heck yeah, yeah.
So like with the Christianity thing, I feel like heard a lot with like drinking alcohol, and that Christians are always like, oh, drugs are bad, bad, everything, which is true.
Yeah.
But then they also will think alcohol is totally okay because it's legal. Now, I don't think that's your, you know, take on that, but I just want to see like what you would, what your response would to that would be like with alcohol and weed, and like what if it ties into Christianity, and like what's the line with.
That's a really good question, and I have like a multi-part answer to this. I'm going to start with alcohol. So, on a Christian standpoint, um, I'd say that having wine, a beer or two, I'm like that's fine. Um, I'd say it starts to cross the line into sinful territory when you allow the alcohol to get the best of you and you get into a state of drunkenness. That's when I'd be like, yeah, that's committing a sin. But if you were to know through breaking bread or whatever, and like wine is the blood of Christ, taking a sip of that and like
Right.
having it as like maybe like with a meal, for example, like
Yeah.
having a little bit of wine or like a scotch with your dinner, like I'd say that's fine. Um, but if once it turns into a problem where it hurts yourself, hurts others, or just in general, it's like, yeah, no, yeah. But for the second part, on a medical standpoint, I'd say don't drink it at all.
Right.
Because there's really no reason why you should be drinking alcohol. It's a drug. I mean, it's alcohol, but it still is a drug.
It definitely is a drug, because it's always
Yeah.
like drugs and alcohol. It's like, well, alcohol is a drug.
Yeah.
It's just legal.
But there's really the only thing that you could say is a good thing about alcohol is that it's just a numbing agent. But besides that, I'm like, it's bad
Which
for
isn't
you.
necessarily
It hurts
good.
your brain. It
Yeah.
hurts your heart. It hurts your liver. It hurts your kidneys. There's literally no reason why you should be drinking alcohol.
Right.
But that's what I have to say about that. I think so. Probably on like a more personal standpoint, I'd say it's just a mix of the both. I'd probably not want to drink alcohol, but if I was to drink anything, it might just be like a little bit of
I
wine.
thought you have tried alcohol. And
Yeah, I a little bit of rough edges. I have in the past drank alcohol underage, so I usually don't talk too much about it.
I can cut it out if you want.
No, no.
Okay.
I mean, it's okay if it's in here.
All right.
So yeah, I did used to kind of do it once in a while. I never did it at home. I really only did it recreationally when I was at the house.
Yeah.
But it was probably not the best thing for me, being like I don't know, 14,
I think
15.
I think you were probably 14. Yeah. That's
Drinking
crazy.
like there was oh my gosh, there was this one time. It was probably this like super low proof, absolute like bottom shelf piss of a beer called like Apple Orchard or something.
Yeah. All those. Yeah.
I had like 3, maybe 4 cans, and I was still running. I'm like, I never really knew what it felt or meant to be drunk. It never really felt like I was. It just,
Oh, really? You never actually felt it?
yeah, to be honest, I thought I was still fine.
You got a high tolerance.
I guess so. I had a 14-year-old me. Oh, give me another. Give me another. I guess. Oh, I don't know. Like driving. Hold my beer. But
It crack on your head.
I don't know, but I'm not too fond about that. I probably is like the worst thing I've ever done, to be honest. But
Well, there also is the
there's also that. I've I dabbled a little bit into a little bit of weed. I'm not too proud of that either.
which
But,
we don't condone, and we don't do that anymore. So yeah.
But I'll get to weed in a second. But with alcohol, I wouldn't really want to touch it too much. If I'm kind of mixed feelings about alcohol. might want to try it just to kind of see how I feel, but I wouldn't want to do much.
Right.
But
It's
really
yeah.
the only thing I would buy is just wine, and I would have like a little bit with dinner or
I've never
something.
liked wine though. It tastes.
Yeah, I heard it tastes a little weird, but some people say red wine is apparently like, or white wine,
I don't
one
think
of the
I've.
two.
I don't think
It's
I
kind of
ever had
healthy.
white. Um. Yeah, I've never liked wine.
I mean, I can always cook with it. That's
Right.
so
Yeah.
that's different.
That's
But
very different. Yeah.
because there won't be any alcohol in it. It's just the
Yeah.
flavor.
Takes out the alcohol.
But yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Weed. That is a very difficult question. It's a very good one.
It's very different than alcohol.
It
you
is, and it's a very fair point. Some people argue that it's okay. Some people say it's you shouldn't do it at all. I'll start on a medical standpoint because that's a little bit easier. Um, um, Morally, trying to go with it, it's kind of difficult. But medically, I'd say anyone who is not without a fully developed brain, don't even touch it. Don't even do it. Don't even think about it. Don't.
Right.
But if you were to do it recreationally, and if you were to do it healthily and once in a while, once you have a fully developed brain, I'd say it's okay and is somewhat healthy.
All right. That's pretty much how I think about it too.
Yeah, it's also kind of difficult because I don't want to get too into it, but I know someone who does weed, and for them it helps them cope, and it's not like they're overusing it. They only do it once, just like maybe like at most probably like 3 maybe 5 times a week, and not
It's a lot, but still not like.
it's not
yeah.
too much, and that might even be pushing it. I mean, I'm not really sure how many times this person would do it, but without it, they get really aggravated, and even before they even took it, that's just how they've always been. They've just been like a really
Yeah.
like mean person, and it's not like they want to. It's just the state of nature that they've kind of grown into, and for them, it kind of felt like weed has kind of helped them in a sense. They did top to bottom research, as literally looked it up for absolute ages, and I could say for certain that they are doing it in the most healthiest manner they can. And it's difficult because it's kind of looked down upon, and they're kind of thinking, how moral is this or whatever, but at the same time, yeah, yeah. But on a Christian standpoint, I'm still kind of difficult on it. Some people argue that if Earth is created by God, it's in God's image, then weed is already naturally made, so weed should be fine.
Which like so is heroin though.
Yeah.
So it's like
So
doesn't really make sense.
So going with that, it's like I've kind of always seen it this way. Kind of going into the whole Adam and Eve kind of thing. Since Eve has taken the apple from the fruit of knowledge and they bit into it, the world around has been tainted with sin. I've kind of thought before that happened, it was in God's image, but once the apple was eaten, then the earth has turned into the sinful area, and then maybe then that's when weed came about. And or maybe weed was supposed to be healthier back then or something, and I don't really know.
I think in the past it actually was because it wasn't as strong in the past, because now it's like these super strong
because now they have all this I think it's called TSC, TCS. I'm having a brain for it.
THC.
THC, that's right.
It's super high THC.
So now they're putting more of this drug into it to make it stronger,
Exactly.
and
That's the bad
it's even
part.
stronger than it was back in the 1970s when it was popular with the hippies. And people back then were always like, oh yeah, hippie culture with the Christianity culture put together, and that's how you got hippies. And it's always been a really difficult topic, and honestly, I'd say I wouldn't use it. I'm okay if other people would use it. I just maybe not want to be around it.
Right.
If they use it in the right way, then I'd say, hey, use it. If they use it in the wrong way, then I'd say, hey, probably hold back. Don't do it as much.
Absolutely.
But I mean, even regardless of everything, you can't force anyone into or out of something. I mean, probably into by by peer pressure, but trying to, you don't want to always force someone into something like that.
Yeah, definitely not.
And never want to.
It can go wrong,
Yeah, it can.
It's happened, so.
I probably don't even want to touch it anymore, and I wouldn't want to do anything with that. I mean, once in a while, I joke to my to that person I know, saying, "Oh yeah, give me a bit of some of that. I had a hard day," but I don't actually want to do it. I'm just joking.
Yeah, I haven't used it in like a year and a half now.
Yeah,
because I just don't like it anymore. Like it's not totally bad in general. I'm just saying I don't like it for myself anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like there were a couple of times when I first tried it that like really were like positive experiences and kind of helped like with life and just trying to like see what's going on in my head.
Exactly.
So like was it also like that when you tried it, or was it more a negative? Because I've had the bad highs too.
Yes, I've knowing just a little bit of the whole, I guess like weed culture, lack of a better term.
Yeah.
I've heard like you said about like good or bad highs.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't really know how a good or a bad high would go, but from what I know, I believe the good high would be like the whole pleasure cloud nine kind of feeling.
So is that like what you had, or was it more negative?
It felt like a little bit of both. I felt like it was almost like the whole like angel and devil on your shoulder kind of feeling. And I had the push of the drug, like, hey, this feels really nice. But the part that made it feel bad was the moral part of me that would be like, this isn't right. I shouldn't be doing this. I'm underage. This is not what I should be doing.
Right.
And also just the environment I was around. It wasn't really fun. It was more like just doing it because you want to like escape reality.
Exactly.
And in a very poor manner, escape from reality. And it just made it kind of sad in a sense.
Exactly.
And it's just, I kind of had both. I never had some of those like documented like, oh my gosh, I had this like vision or anything.
Right.
Like,
yeah. I talked to God.
I never had anything like that, but I've always felt just numb. I felt light.
Exactly.
And I've always had this one thing I really do remember. This one feeling I would get is that my hip area.
I think I know what you mean.
Like, especially, like, right at the thigh. Like, where the pelvis and the thigh would meet.
Mm-hmm.
Not into the, trunk area. Not there, but a little more out.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, in the middle. I've always felt that, like, buzzy, kind of, like, numb feeling. Where it feels like I'm sitting on nothing.
I really like that. I miss that part.
That's, like, the only part where it's, like, draps. I'm kind of missing out.
Yeah, exactly. I remember I used to be on the couch just like, oh my God.
I shouldn't do that.
Literally, it makes you do that. It makes you like go in those weird positions. Oh man.
It's bad. It's so bad.
But I feel like the last time that we did it together, which is like 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now, I think. I remember it was like, I was over on the couch and like you were over in the corner. And I remember you just in the chair, just like you're just kind of like in your head, and I was like, I think he's having a bad high.
Oh man,
because I know what that's like. So was that a bad experience?
I don't quite remember some of those times because usually with bad experiences, my brain would try to forget about it.
Yeah,
but it's also just the fact that it's been like so many years.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
I think the first time I've done it was maybe back in like late 2022.
That's what I was gonna say.
Something like that. And
I think it's 2021, like late, or yeah.
Because I think it was even before my Dutch Way days, and 2022 is when I started.
It was before Dutch Way.
Dang,
and
holy
the
crap,
alcohol.
I'm so young doing that. Dang. Gosh, I should have. Well, anyway, with those, I don't quite remember the first ones. Maybe like I think the only thing I could say is just the whole numb feeling and feeling hungry, the
Yeah,
whole munchies.
I miss the munchies. I gotta admit.
Oh my gosh. I think the really only munchie kind of I ever had was I don't even remember when this was. It was just one of the times. Maybe it was like the third time I was high. I had Hazel asked me if I was hungry. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of hungry. So she brought me a package of these chocolate Pop-Tarts.
Oh,
And she went up and she's like, all right, you can have these. I'm going to go back upstairs. I'm going to fix myself something like a drink. I think she was literally pouring herself like a glass of milk and putting some chocolate syrup in and making some chocolate milk.
Yeah.
And then it was like, that doesn't take long. It's like a minute and a half just to make some chocolate milk. It was gone. It was gone. It was just wrapper and crumbs. And she's like, damn. I'm like,
Oh my
I'm
god.
kind of hungry. Still hungry. But that's like the only thing in terms of munchies that I remember. Though, with the bad high, I don't think I think the last time I was ever high, or maybe drunk, or maybe both, or either or, was, I think, the 2023 into 2024 New Year's party at Hazel's house.
I think that was the earlier year you were talking about. It was 22 to 23 was our party.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
And that's what I was talking about, where you were in the corner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I was just kind of sitting there because I kind of felt like I'm having some memories. So I think some of the people, it was more like a frat party because it was like a
Right.
frat house. It's always been.
Yeah.
So there's always been like people that would come in and come out. And I wasn't really sure who some of the people were, but I at least knew that they were maybe like Elko kids or something, or at least like...
Yeah, I think they're all Elko kids.
Yeah, so I maybe recognize like a few faces if I never talked to them. I'm like, oh, hey, I saw you in the hallway, or I saw you in the yearbook somewhere. So I think it was just because I was a bit antisocial because it didn't really relate to some of these people. They were younger than me, which is...
Oh, really? Yeah, there were a couple people that pretty
which
young.
is even worse, knowing how young I was and seeing even younger people. I'm like, dang. So I think that's why, but it was also just like the normal fight against the drug versus my morality, and it just kind of gave me that like, ugh, kind of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So, and yeah, it was probably just like my morality is kicking in at the hardest, and it's just like, I really shouldn't be doing this. I really don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I want to, but I don't at the same time.
Exactly.
It's just... I think that's when I'm just like, yeah, I'm done.
Right, because like, I mean, I do get that for sure, but I never really got like how it's like a wrong, because I get that it can have bad effects, but if you aren't using it in a bad way, how is that, wrong necessarily?
I think it kind of turned into the whole, because I think back then I wasn't as informed about weed as I was, so I thought, oh yeah, just weed is wrong, Christians shouldn't be doing it, and that's probably what I felt back then.
Mm-hmm.
I've always, the health teachers would inundate you over and over and time again saying, don't do drugs are bad, okay? Don't be doing drugs. Mr. Mackey says to, okay? So it's like, I've always had that like idea in the back of my mind, like, oh yeah, people say I shouldn't be doing it, so I shouldn't be doing it, yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was just, it is definitely the way I was raised. I've always been around that, like, always got to be morally correct kind of environment. So it's just to hit me like a truck whenever I'd be doing something like that.
That's very true, and then weed also kind of exaggerates those feelings too. Like,
on top of my ADHD.
If you are, oh my god,
it was so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah, weed is not good for, like, sometimes it really like can take you out of a sad state, but also sometimes it can put you in a sad state.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's when it gets bad. But yeah, that was a good talk on weed. That's always very interesting to me.
Yeah. The drug pushed it enough where it was just always an alright experience.
Exactly. Like, I had like really awesome experiences, and then just like very and then very bad.
Yeah.
With and like there are also the other drugs like shrooms and acid. If you know anything about those, like, I've heard a lot of bad experiences too. But also I've never done it, but with other people, heard a lot of bad experiences. But also positive ones where they say like I talked to God, I Jesus talked to me and everything. Like, is that kind of what you like? Is that positive? Do you think, or like is that kind of the same category as weed, where it's just it's possible to use it well, possible to use it in a negative way? Because those are stronger.
They are, yeah.
Yeah, it's very tricky.
I've always felt like going into psychedelics was like the harder drug territory, so I was always at the mindset of like, I'm not gonna touch that.
Right, and
like,
it can go very badly. It's because it's so just powerful. You know.
So I've always heard like you could probably like go back to like the whole Joe Rogan podcast saying about how he like was in the middle of like a tree, like he was
I remember
he was young, he climbed a tree, had shrooms, had this like awesome eye-opening woke kind of like experience.
Right.
I'm like, I've always heard stories like that where it's like first time having it, whoa, big, whoa, mind blown, wow, kind of experience. But I haven't heard too much of the bad experiences, but I know that it can go really, really south.
Yeah.
And it's almost like what's it like? Almost like a schizophrenic experience almost. And it can almost turn into like almost like a sleep paralysis kind of thing too.
Yeah.
Even though you may not be asleep, but it's like the paralysis, I guess. But I probably never want to touch those, to be honest.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I think I do want to experiment in the future, but like far future because of the brain.
Yeah.
But definitely far future because of my bad weed experiences. I'm just so not interested in that right now, you know, and the age. And it's so important to like know your shit and know what you're getting into and who you're getting it from and like
exactly,
you know, trust that person. Yeah, it's back and forth because people often want to use it as like alcohol, just like trying to get out of reality, and that's you're not doing it right. You know, that's not how it's, if you want to say, meant to be used. I think because I have heard so many positive experiences that I really have agreed with what it was saying in that experience of like there is a God and this is like how the universe works. I'm like, yeah, that sounds accurate. Like that sounds like what I think for myself.
Yeah. So
it's like, is there really like is this actually a truthful thing? You know, that's telling people, and it's so, but it also can, you know, take it fully the other way and go down a bad loophole. But that's just how it works, you know.
Yeah, I morally I won't want to touch that. Medically, I'm still kind of shaky.
Yeah,
so.
I definitely wouldn't try to push you because I was at a point like a while ago where I was like, I feel like this really can do good things for people and I want people to try it, but now I'm more like, if you already don't want to try it, then just don't.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just not worth risking anything bad happening.
I ain't been this high Perkins in a long time. I ain't been this high Perkins in a long time. I took 2 30s and a half of a third one. I feel like I can see everything with my third eye. Feel like I'm floating, see the world from a bird's eye view. These drugs remind me of a girl I knew. A little sweet, a little sour, and it vibes with the mood. Ain't no competition, baby, but I'm higher than you. Pray to God I never come down, down, down.